Had I known any better, I would have sworn that the laws of the land and the culture were merely a dream. But in the day and age of anarcho-tyranny across the West, lawlessness has become more bound to reality than we could imagine. To those paying attention to the acts and aggression from the deep state within the American government and other Western countries, we can see that the rule of law has long since been thrown out of the window. With evidence of Swedish election meddling, Great Britain reaching levels of totalitarianism that match North Korea, a middle finger to the desires of the Italian people in their own election, and a determination to have Europeans, Americans, and Australians replaced in their own lands. The worst of it all has been the destruction of a God-fearing man's reputation, such as Brett Kavanaugh.
But you have replaced advice and consent with search and destroy. The Democratic Senate leader said he would, quote, oppose me with everything he's got. A Democratic senator on this committee publicly referred to me as evil. Evil. Think about that word.
It's hard to imagine winning in a fair fight against governments that have betrayed their people at every turn. Since May of last year, Robert Mueller and his team have devoted resources like the parasites that they are, all in the name of stalling the president's agenda. What am I getting at with all of this, you ask? What I'm getting at is that the hatred for our way of life has never been so out in the open. Such arrogance, such vitriol, such a gross and contemptuous act to deceive and subvert our chances to even have a simple functioning society that feels natural, no matter the cost. I, personally, am worried about President Trump's choice in company, and though I still support him, I don't know how far he can get without them being purged from power in the near future. Though the fight isn't merely about him anymore. What lies beneath is a people who are fighting for victory in the culture war, and neither side is willing to give in. Win or lose, what will become of us? Who will we turn to? Will the once great Catholic Church rise from the ashes of its implosion? Ask these questions and realize at the same time, democracy is not worth protecting, fellow Westerners. Our worst enemies line up to espouse the greatness of democracy. Yet what will we achieve as nationalists, as our people? The assault on men like Viktor Orban, Matteo Salvini, and President Trump is certainly nothing new. Yet they still continue with one petty lawsuit after another, trying to impose their globalist agenda. Merely our decision to survive as Westerners and to have sovereignty has been deemed the ultimate act of evil. In my opinion, the left has taken a step back from subversion and more of a step towards a full frontal assault. Almost 2 years after the ascension of President Trump, and they have merely quadrupled down in their ideology. They see our culture as illegitimate. They live in a different world from us. Instead of negotiation, they've merely hurled a fake dossier of criminal degenerative behavior to smear the president, used federal power to delay our travel ban, and exploited a college professor. And they never quite despised the culture of white Westerners and Christians as they do today. And to reiterate, our once beautiful and muscular church has been lost in the fight to help us. At least we have the Dalai Lama to step in for us.
Then the aim is eventually they should return their own land to rebuild their own country. That's my view, right from the beginning.
The emotional reaction to preserve Marxism and their chief sacrament, abortion, has been sickening, but not surprising to say the least. This was Ireland, when their own abortion ban was repealed.
Yes,
To our people, I say, frankly, we've lost the negotiation. Just now, white flight is happening in our own United States of America from the coasts to inland. But that's simply not enough. It will never be a real solution to those who don't realize why they flee in the first place. No matter what becomes of our lands, whether they divide like they nearly did in the 19th century, whether they burn, whether they change demographically forever, the time to preserve Christianity, white nations, the Roman, the Faustian, the Norse, the Iberian, and the Celtic people and spirit is now. Those who marvel at the idea of our cultural, racial, and spiritual genocide will have their day. I promise. At this point, it's just a matter of surviving long enough to see it. But subversion is nothing new. And there used to be an answer for the traitors. And, on the legal books, there still is. With or without leftist subversion, this is a natural byproduct of democracy in the end. Democracy, a golden calf of the post-Enlightenment era. If any idea sows the seeds of its own undoing, then maybe it's time for a change, or maybe even a glance at our ancestors and how they ruled themselves. Though I don't really see a peaceful coexistence with our enemies on the left, we will survive. The West will carry on. Christendom will rise again. And our nations in Europe and the Americas, they may divide and we may lose them for some time. But we will carry on. We will restore the West. And God will be with us. Save the West. Deus Vult.